Power doesn't always come from force. It's not always won through speeches, wars, or big dramatic moves. The truth? Real power is often built quietly, in the spaces between words, in the pauses that make people uneasy, and in the silences that reveal more than any statement ever could. Look around at the world today. It's drowning in noise. Everyone's talking, everyone's posting, everyone's arguing and fighting to be heard. But here's the thing. In this endless battle of voices, the ones who actually hold the real power are often the ones who stay silent. Silence is strange. It's like a riddle, an empty space people can't resist filling. And in their rush to fill it, they often give away far more than they realize, sometimes even to their own downfall. Niccolò Machiavelli, one of history's sharpest political minds, understood this better than almost anyone. He knew that the most dangerous person in the room isn't the one yelling the loudest. It's the one quietly listening, the one who gives nothing away while learning everything. In his writings, Machiavelli kept coming back to the same idea: restraint. Speak only when necessary. Master the skill of revealing nothing while observing everyone else. Because here's the thing, if you can control your tongue, you can control your fate. But if you can't handle silence, if you rush to fill it because it makes you uncomfortable, you've already given away your power.
Silence has always been the language of kings and conquerors. Throughout history, the strongest leaders weren't the loudest talkers. They were the ones who knew exactly when to say nothing. Think about Julius Caesar. Before crossing the Rubicon, a decision that would change Rome forever, he kept his plans completely hidden. The city waited in suspense, and when he finally acted, his enemies were caught off guard. Napoleon Bonaparte? He used silence like a scalpel. In negotiations, he let others speak first, letting them expose their weaknesses before he revealed a single thought. Even Vladimir Lenin during the Russian Revolution. He disappeared from the public eye for months, let his enemies burn themselves out with debates and declarations. Then, when he finally spoke, his words redirected the entire movement. See the pattern here? Silence isn't inaction, it's strategy. When you stay quiet, you give people space to reveal their own plans, fears, and weaknesses. A silent person in a room full of talkers becomes a mirror, and people can't help but project onto that mirror their assumptions, their insecurities, their miscalculations. Meanwhile, you're just sitting there, absorbing everything.
Machiavelli warned rulers to never speak more than necessary. Why? Because every word is a weapon. And once it's out there, it can be used against you. The moment you reveal your real thoughts, you become predictable. The moment you over-explain yourself, you hand people the tools to manipulate you. So, why do people talk so much? It's simple. They're scared. Scared of what people might think if they stay silent. Scared of being misunderstood. Scared of the empty space between thoughts. But that's exactly where power hides, in the ability to hold that discomfort, to let others scramble to fill the silence while you stay calm, steady, unreadable. Look at the mistakes people make when they can't handle silence. A politician who tries to please everyone ends up pleasing no one. A negotiator who talks too much ends up revealing his bottom line before the other side even makes an offer. A social climber who overshares gives others exactly what they need to exploit his ambitions.
Machiavelli understood that most people cannot stand silence. It's in our nature to break it, to explain ourselves, to speak first.
But the ones who can resist, they almost always win. Silence isn't just useful in politics. It's a weapon in war, in business, in survival. It's in the art of war, too. The best military strategies are the ones you keep hidden until the exact moment you strike. Words spoken too soon are like armies deployed too early. They reveal your intentions before the timing is right. In war, a general who hides his plans forces the enemy to guess, over-prepare, and hesitate. In politics, a leader who stays quiet forces rivals to speculate. And in that guessing, they often make fatal mistakes. And in everyday life, the person who reveals little about themselves always has an advantage over those who can't stop talking. Silence is timing. It's patience. It's waiting until the exact moment when victory is guaranteed, and only them making your move. Human nature hasn't changed much since Machiavelli's time. People are still drawn to mystery. They're still unsettled by what they can't figure out. And silence, real, deliberate silence, creates that exact effect. When someone doesn't talk much, we automatically assume they must know something we don't. We think they're confident because they don't feel the need to prove themselves. We start asking ourselves, why isn't he speaking? What is she thinking? And before we even realize it, we've given them power. This isn't magic, it's psychology. We project depth and intelligence onto those who speak rarely, but with precision. It's an unspoken rule in human behavior. The fewer words you use, the more weight those words carry. Now contrast that with our world today. Social media never sleeps. The news cycle never stops. We live in an era of oversharing. Everyone's broadcasting their thoughts to the world in real time. And yet, the ancient truth still stands. Silence is not weakness. It's one of the strongest tools for influence and control. Machiavelli understood this. In The Prince, he stressed that control is everything. Control over information, over perception, and most importantly, over your own speech.
Because here's the danger of overcommunication. When you talk too much, you give away more than you realize. You show your insecurities in nervous chatter. You reveal your emotions in unguarded moments. And sometimes, you make commitments you can't take back just because you felt pressured to respond. Once your words are out there, they can't be taken back. And every single one of them can be twisted, misinterpreted, or used against you. That's why Machiavelli believed that real power lies in the asymmetry of information. The one who knows more than they reveal will always have the advantage. If you spill everything you know, you lose that edge. It's like showing your entire hand in poker before the game even starts. Your opponents now have the blueprint to beat you. Machiavelli even warned about leaders who were too open. He said that a ruler who's overly transparent loses the mystique that inspires respect. Once everyone knows your secrets and your strategies, you're no longer unpredictable. You're a problem they can plan against. That's the whole point of strategic silence. When you reveal less, people can't be sure what's coming next. They hesitate. They prepare for the wrong thing. They underestimate or overestimate you. And in either case, you're the one who stays in control.
Now, don't get this wrong. Silence doesn't mean muteness. Machiavelli never said to never speak. In fact, he believed in speaking when the moment was right, when your words could have the most impact. But the key is timing. A true master of power knows exactly when to talk and exactly when to shut up. A few well-chosen words, delivered at the right moment, can hit harder than hours of endless talking. And sometimes, saying nothing at all speaks louder than anything you could put into words. Think about a leader who rarely gives public statements. When they finally do speak, everyone listens. Their silence makes every word feel deliberate, measured, and important. People interpret that as thoughtfulness, discipline, and control, even if the truth is more complex. That's the real genius of strategic silence. It doesn't just hide information, it actively shapes how people see you. You can inspire loyalty, intimidate rivals, or mislead opponents without saying anything untrue, simply by being selective about what you say and when you say it. Meanwhile, the person who can't stop talking loses control of the narrative entirely. They give people too much material to work with. They make it easy for others to form negative opinions or twist their words. They talk themselves into corners they can't get out of.
And once you've lost control over how people perceive you, regaining that control is almost impossible. That's why the truly powerful, whether they're rulers, CEOs, negotiators, or even just quietly ambitious individuals, never feel pressured to speak just because someone else is talking. They're comfortable letting others fill the space, because every word the other person says is a chance to learn more about them, what they want, what they fear, what they're trying to hide. The silent strategist is like a chess player who lets their opponent make the first 10 moves. By the time they strike, they already know every weakness on the board. It's the same in business. In a tense negotiation, the person who can stay silent after an offer is made often wins. Why? Because silence makes people nervous. It makes them second-guess themselves. They'll start justifying their offer, throwing in bonuses, or even lowering their price just to break the tension. And you've done nothing but sit there quietly, letting them negotiate against themselves. In personal relationships, it works the same way. Someone who rushes to explain themselves or overshares too soon gives the other person all the leverage. Someone who reveals little, on the other hand, keeps the dynamic balanced in their favor. Silence doesn't just protect you, it puts you in a position to act from strength, not desperation.
If you really want to master silence, you have to stop thinking of it as doing nothing. It's not passive, it's not avoidance. Silence is action, just in a different form. Think of it like this. Every time you choose not to speak, you're making a move. You're gathering information. You're controlling the pace of the conversation. You're forcing other people to reveal themselves before you reveal anything about yourself. In war, generals know that the best plans are the ones the enemy can't see. In politics, leaders know that the less they reveal, the more their rivals have to guess. And in everyday life, the less you say, the harder it is for people to use anything against you. But there's another layer to this. Silence also changes how you think. When you stop reacting immediately, you give yourself time to process, to see the bigger picture, to decide what really matters before committing to an answer. You start making deliberate choices instead of emotional ones. That's why silence is so uncomfortable for most people. It forces them to face their own thoughts without distraction. And most can't handle that. They'd rather fill the air with words than sit in that stillness. But for those who can handle it, that's where real influence begins. Machiavelli's entire philosophy wasn't just about winning, it was about staying in power once you had it. And one of his key insights was that control over your words is control over your destiny. Say too much, too soon, and you give people the map to your weaknesses. Say just enough at the right time, and you keep them guessing forever.
Let's make it practical. Here are a few ways to use silence as a tool, not just an absence. In negotiations, after you've made your point or heard an offer, pause. Let the other side squirm. The longer the silence, the more likely they'll make concessions. In conflict, when emotions are high, speaking too quickly can make things worse. Stay silent long enough to cool down, then speak with intention. In leadership,
don't respond to every criticism or question instantly. Let your silence show that you're considering the bigger picture. In daily interactions, get comfortable with pauses in conversation. They make people feel the weight of your presence, even without words. The trick is knowing that silence isn't about shutting people out. It's about shaping the space so that when you do speak, it means something. And timing is everything. Speak too soon and you look impulsive. Wait too long and you risk losing the moment. But when you hit that perfect window, when the silence has done its work and the tension is high, your words will land like a hammer. That's how leaders like Caesar, Napoleon, and Lenin turned silence into a weapon. They weren't quiet because they had nothing to say. They were quiet because they knew exactly when to say it.
Now, there's a flip side here. Silence can backfire if it comes from fear or insecurity. If you're quiet because you're afraid to speak, people can sense that too. The kind of silence we're talking about isn't shy or submissive. It's intentional. It's chosen. And that's the difference between losing your voice and wielding it like a blade. In a way, silence is like holding back a punch until the exact right moment. You're not avoiding the fight. You're just making sure that when you swing, it ends things. In the modern world, this is harder than ever. We're conditioned to react instantly, to answer messages right away, to post our thoughts in real time, to explain ourselves before anyone even asks. That's why people who don't play that game stand out. They make others lean in. They create space for curiosity. They project authority without having to demand it. It's like being the only calm person in a room full of chaos. Your stillness becomes magnetic. And that's the lesson. Silence isn't about saying nothing forever. It's about controlling the moment when you decide to speak. It's about patience, restraint, and using that rarest of human skills, the ability to listen more than you talk. In the end, the most powerful voices in history were powerful because they didn't speak all the time. They let their silence work for them, and when they finally broke it, the world listened. So, the next time you feel that urge to fill the air, to answer right away, to jump in first, pause. Let the silence hang. See what it pulls out of the people around you. You might be surprised how much they give away while you're saying absolutely nothing. Because in a noisy world, silence isn't emptiness. It's the sharpest edge you'll ever carry.